The heavy duffel bag hit the floor of Penn Station with a thud as Officer Silas Sterling shoved Sergeant Marcus Hayes against a concrete pillar. "I don't care about your leave papers. You match a description, and you're coming with me." Sterling's face was twisted in an arrogant sneer. Marcus, a man of dark complexion and a decorated Army Ranger, stood like a statue of granite. He looked at the officer and said with a low, combat-hardened voice, "Officer, you're currently violating the dignity of the uniform I bled for. I suggest you take your hands off me before you realize that the phone call I'm currently on isn't with my mother. It's with a 3-star general who is already 2 minutes away from this precinct." The sound of heavy military boots echoing through the terminal signaled the arrival of a storm Sterling was not prepared to weather. New York's Penn Station was a hive of frantic energy. Sergeant Marcus Hayes, a man of dark complexion, whose broad shoulders and disciplined posture spoke of years in the Special Forces, was navigating the crowd. He was in his full-class A-dress uniform, medals gleaming, creases sharp enough to cut glass. He had just returned from a 14-month deployment and was clutching a bouquet of flowers. Headed for the train that would take him home to his daughter, he moved with a quiet, humble authority. But Officer Silas Sterling, who was patrolling the transit hub with a chip on his shoulder the size of the city, Marcus wasn't a hero. He was a provocation. Sterling, a man who believed the badge gave him the right to humble anyone who looked too proud, stepped into Marcus's path. "Hold it right there. Where do you think you're going in such a hurry?" Sterling barked, his eyes scanning Marcus with a cold, dismissive arrogance. "I'm heading to track 12, officer. I have a train to catch," Marcus replied, his voice calm but firm. "Track 12? I've had reports of stolen military property and someone impersonating personnel in this sector," Sterling mocked, stepping closer until he was in Marcus's personal space. "You look like you're wearing a costume you didn't earn. Step to the side. Now." Marcus didn't move fast enough for Sterling's ego. Without warning, Sterling reached out and grabbed Marcus by the lapel of his decorated dress jacket, forcefully jerking him toward a service corridor. The physical violation was immediate. Sterling pinned Marcus against a cold concrete pillar, his forearm pressing against the sergeant's chest. The flowers Marcus had been holding were crushed between them, petals falling to the dirty floor. "I said move." Sterling growled. "I don't like the way you're looking at me, soldier. You think because you put on some ribbons you're better than me? In this city, I'm the one who give the orders." Marcus kept his eyes fixed on a point over Sterling's shoulder, maintaining a terrifying level of military discipline. "Officer Sterling, you are currently damaging government property, this uniform, and you are detaining a member of the armed forces without probable cause. I am on active leave, and my documentation is in my pocket." Sterling laughed, a smug, high-pitched sound that drew the attention of the passing commuters. "I'll check your papers when I'm done searching your bag. I bet there's more than just clothes in there." He yanked Marcus's arm behind his back, the handcuffs clicking with a predatory sharpness. The scene was becoming a spectacle. A younger officer, Miller, ran over, looking at Marcus's bronze star and purple heart ribbons with wide eyes. "Silas, wait. Look at the rack on his chest." "That's a Ranger tab," Miller whispered, his voice shaking. "Maybe we should just check the ID and let him go." "Back off, Miller," he gave me attitude. "That's enough for a disorderly at least." Sterling snapped. He ratcheted the cuffs tighter, intentionally causing Marcus to wince. A group of commuters, led by Evelyn, an older woman whose son was also in the service, stopped and began to protest. "That man is a soldier. You have no right to treat him like that. Let him go." Sterling turned on the crowd, his face red with a sense of untouchable power. "Get back. This is a secure area. You want to join him in the holding cell? Keep walking." Marcus remained silent, but he had managed to trigger a voice command on his smartwatch before his hands were bound. A call was active. On the other end, a heavy silence was suddenly replaced by a voice that sounded like rolling thunder. "Officer Sterling," Marcus said quietly, "you might want to listen to the man on the line. He's been listening to every word you've said for the last 5 minutes." Sterling sneered, leaning in close to Marcus's ear. "I don't care if you're talking to the president. You're going to precinct in the back of a cage." The suspense reached a breaking point as the terminal's PA system was suddenly overridden by a security announcement. But it wasn't a train schedule. It was an order for all transit police in Sector 4 to stand down. A fleet of black government Suburbans screeched to a halt at the 7th Avenue entrance. A group of military police, led by a man with 3 silver stars on his shoulders, General Vance, marched into the station. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. The flow of the story shifted from a routine arrest to a full-scale military-civilian standoff. General Vance didn't look at the crowd. He looked at the officer who had his forearm against the chest of his finest sergeant. Just before the shocking reveal, we want to take a quick moment to thank you for your support, love, and kindness. We wouldn't have come this far without you. Subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue to bring you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. General Vance stopped exactly 1 foot away from Officer Sterling. The general's eyes were cold, professional, and lethal. "Officer," the general said, his voice vibrating through the station floor, "you are currently holding a man who saved 24 lives in a valley you couldn't find on a map. You have exactly 5 seconds to remove those cuffs before I declare this a matter of national security and have my MPs take custody of you instead." Sterling, paralyzed by the sheer presence of the general, looked from the stars on the uniform to the man he had pinned against the wall. His arrogance shattered like glass. "General, He didn't show me his ID." Sterling stammered. "He didn't have to," the general growled. "His uniform is his ID. And your badge? I think you've just worn it for the last time." The bustling noise of Penn Station died down to a sharp, expectant silence. Officer Silas Sterling's hands fumbled as he reached for the key to the handcuffs. The cold steel that felt like a trophy of his power moments ago now felt like a burning weight. As the shackles clicked open, Sergeant Marcus Hayes didn't collapse or vent his anger. He simply stepped away from the pillar, stood at perfect attention, and rendered a crisp, unwavering salute to General Vance. "Status, Sergeant," the general barked. "Detained without cause, sir. My leave papers were ignored, and my uniform was characterized as a costume, sir," Marcus reported, his voice projecting with military clarity. The general turned his gaze back to Sterling, who looked as though he were shrinking inside his own skin. "Officer Sterling, you claim this man matched the description. Tell me, does the description include a Bronze Star for valor? Does it include the Purple Heart he received while pulling 3 of his brothers out of a burning transport?" The power shift was absolute. The suspect was now a decorated war hero being protected by a 3-star commander, and the lawman was now an ant under a magnifying glass. Sterling's arrogance had led him to treat a titan of the military like a common criminal, and the truth reveal was now being broadcast by dozens of smartphones in the crowd. "Sir, I was just doing my job. Security is tight in the terminal." Sterling tried to defend himself, his voice cracking. "Your job is to protect citizens, not to satisfy your own ego by bullying men who have done more for this country in a day than you've done in a lifetime," the general replied. The police precinct commander, who had been alerted to the general's arrival, rushed onto the scene, breathless and sweating. He took one look at the general's face and then at Sterling's hand, which was still red from gripping Marcus's jacket. "Commander," the general said, his voice cold, "your officer here has demonstrated a gross lack of judgment, professional conduct, and basic human decency. He has physically assaulted an active duty sergeant on official leave. If this is the standard of your department, I will be recommending that the Department of Defense review all transit security contracts with this precinct." The precinct commander's face went pale. He turned to Sterling with a look of pure fury. "Sterling, you're done. Hand over your badge and your service weapon to Officer Miller. You are under administrative arrest for official misconduct and assault." In front of the entire station, Sterling had to surrender his authority. The crowd, many of whom had family in the military, didn't stay silent. Jeers of "Thank you for your service, Sergeant," and "Shame on you, Sterling," echoed through the corridors. The bully was stripped of his shield, leaving him exposed as nothing more than a small man who had misused a large amount of power. Following the incident, the video of Marcus's dignified restraint went viral, becoming a national symbol of the quiet professional. General Vance ensured that Marcus's leave was extended by an extra 2 weeks, and the city of New York issued a formal public apology. The moral resolution saw a massive shift in the transit police's training protocols. Officer Miller, who had tried to intervene, was promoted to sergeant and tasked with leading a new military liaison unit to ensure veterans and active duty members were treated with the respect they earned. Marcus finally made it home to his daughter, his dignity not just intact, but elevated. The system that Sterling tried to use as a weapon was rebuilt into a shield for those who truly serve. Never mistake a person's silence for a lack of power, and never assume that a uniform, whether a badge or a set of fatigues, gives you the right to look down on another. True strength is found in discipline and the ability to restrain oneself when faced with injustice. The truth is, when you seek to humble someone who has already sacrificed for the greater good, you aren't proving your authority. You are simply proving that you are unworthy of the power you've been given.